Well, hey there, this is a video tutorial that will give you a visual on how to calculate z-scores within SPSS. So, with SPSS open, do the following. Go to Variable View at the bottom of your screen. I've gone to Variable View because you see that Variable View is highlighted. You will be creating one variable based on the information in your assignment. So, go up to the grades and observe those numerics. Now what you'll do next is assign a name for the first variable and make sure there are no spaces. So I'm just going to insert grades in the name section. Keep in mind every row represents a variable that you're setting up. Next, you can indicate the type of variable you will input, but you can keep that numeric. Next, you can decide on the width, how long the numbers you will input into data view can be, and decimal places, how many numbers can go after your decimal of your variable, the numbers that will show in data view. So you don't necessarily have to touch that. You don't necessarily need to touch the decimals place either. You can write an extended name that can include spaces for the variable you are creating in the label section. So I'm just going to write performance grades. Under values, you can assign labels that are associated with certain numbers if you need to for your variable. Please note that if you have a nominal or an ordinal variable, you should be doing this. Since we're working with grades, you don't need to do this. In this column, you can decide on a numeric, if any, that you will use to show missing information. So in your assignment, you don't have any missing information, so you don't need to touch that particular column. You can decide on the number of columns that will be visible in data view. We will just keep it at 8. Skipping over alignment because we can keep that right. We'll move on to measure. You'll decide on the measure of the variable. You have to make a decision about whether or not the above variables are nominal, ordinal, or scale. Keep in mind that scale represents interval and ratio combined. And we will be inputting our data for roles, so we don't need to change that. So we have set up our variable. If you go back to data view, and you can do this just by clicking on data view and that tab will highlight. Now it is time to input our data into SPSS. So you'll input each participant's information on the first page like we did in class, being careful to note that each row represents one participant in data view. Each column represents a variable. So you can see that each column represents a variable by coming up to the top, and now that very first column header says grades. So we have 8 participants. I will enter the data for those 8 participants. Okay, so for each of the 8 participants, I have grades in SPSS. Now, in order to calculate z-scores, I need to go to Analyze. Then I need to go to Descriptive Statistics, and then from there I will click on Descriptives. Next thing I need to do is drag performance grade over into the variables section. After doing that, I need to click on save standardized values as variables at the bottom of the descriptive screen. And once I do that, I will click OK. Upon clicking OK, I will get a descriptive statistics table that highlights the total amount of individuals in my sample, the minimum score, the maximum score, the mean, and the standard deviation. If you go back to the SPSS data view screen, you will see that Z grades are present. And what that Z grades column represents is Z scores for each raw score in your data set that pertains to grades. I hope that this was helpful. Let me know if you have any comments, questions, or concerns.